And welcome everybody. This is Espen. Today we are live here at Dr. ETV with Campbell, a four-time international best-selling author, former men's physique champion, which I was as well, and I'm pumped. No, actually, I wasn't. I came fifth in America, so but I'll talk to you about this. This is going to be so cool.
Awesome.
He's also the founder of the Campbell brand, podcaster, co-founder of what's called Aseir Custom. I don't know if I say that right.
Aseir, but same thing. Yep, Aseir.
Aseir, indeed. Now check this out. He is what's referred to as a new earth architect teaching Ascensional Alchemy. That is an interesting topic to lean into. So today we're going to talk about, this is going to be a no-nonsense, authentic, fearless conversation where we lean into how to assist humanity towards the awakening or the golden age, if you will. So I want to say special welcome, brother. How are you this morning for us? How are you?
Dr. Espen, it's an honor to be here today, man. When you guys reached out to me, I think it was like 4 or 5 months ago, I was like, yeah, I want to come on. So it's, been a long time, but here I am. So I'm very grateful to be here, privileged, humbled, and let's make magic.
Let's make some magic. Absolutely. So tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do to give our listeners and viewers a bit of context.
Yeah, for sure. So I'm almost 52 years old. I've been in the biohacking, hormone optimization, wellness, functional medicine space for a long time. I mean, literally for about 15 years, publicly. I do not have a license. I'm not a licensed medical doctor, but I do have a molecular biology minor. And I'm just a science nerd, right? Like when I was in my 20s, I tell people that I used to literally study PubMed and like look at all the research and all the stuff back before research was truly fraudulent like it is mostly now today. But I'm just a dork that just like basically was a ex college and pro basketball player. I got kicked in my testicles when I was 29 playing in an adult men's league out in Southern California. And I just randomly went to a PPO doctor who referred me to an endocrinologist. And as you said early in the off air, there's no coincidences, only synchronicities in the universe. And I met a profound teacher who was an endocrinologist who said, hey man, he ran my lab panels and he saw that I had testosterone levels of a 85-year-old geriatric, and he said, look, I can put you on a dose of therapeutic testosterone and get you right as rain in 8 to 10 weeks. Go home, talk to your wife. At the time I was engaged, we were like a month out from being married, and you get her approval, and then we'll do it. So I went home, and at that time I had never used anything in my life from other than like Rip Fuel and stuff like that, and supplements and stuff like that. And she was like, you're a smart guy, do it. So I went on therapeutic testosterone, and just like the guy said, 8 to 10 weeks, I started feeling absolutely amazing. He wanted to take me off, and I was like, whoa, not coming off. Why would I want to come off? I mean, like, I just went from like feeling like this to standing testosterone. I read everything I could get my hands on, which back then, Espen, I mean, a long time ago, this is like 1999 to let's say 2006, there really wasn't a lot of information online or anywhere, unless you could read Russian or Bulgarian, because they had volumes of stuff on TRT and testosterone, therapeutic testosterone usage. But I basically stood on the shoulders of as many people as I could read and write. And I eventually, one of my friends, told me, I want to say I was right around 40 or 41. He's like, dude, you know so much about this. You got to write a book. Like, why don't you write a book? So, at the time in my business profession, I was just, what I call a regularly wage slave. I worked in the digital automotive space, and, I was pretty much rose pretty high on the corporate chain and corporate ladder. But I didn't want to do anything that could damage my career, because again, I wasn't a licensed medical professional. So I reached out to various people. One of them was but the attorney, Rick Collins. And I asked him, I said, hey, Rick, you don't know me from Adam, but if I was to write a book as a lay person on therapeutic testosterone, what are the risks? And being an attorney, he told me there were risks. So I shut it down. But I also had sent the book, or a white paper of the book, to Nelson Virgil, who was the guy that wrote the first book on therapeutic testosterone, which was called Testosterone: A Man's Guide. And he replied to me 4 months later, because he was actually in his native country, Venezuela at the time. And he had read my white paper, and he was like, I don't know who you are, but you need to publish this. This is profound stuff. So fast forward, through his help and other people, about a year and a half later, which was in 2015, I published the first book, which is the definitive TRT manual. And then, to make a very long story short, in the last 7 years, and now moving into the 8th year, I've met all these amazing people. I've written 6 books now, 4, again, are international bestsellers on health optimization, intermittent fasting, all this other stuff. And now, I shifted in say 2019 to becoming the guy that Jay Campbell from the TRT, health optimization guy to raise your vibration guy. And in so doing, I've met all these amazing people in the world, including people like yourself. And now I'm blessed to be able to speak about consciousness and, raising your vibration and just, all the stuff that's happening right now as like you call it, Ascensional Alchemy, as we move into hopefully what we all assume to be the golden age or the new earth.
Love it. And I see such a synchronicity between the two as well, because to really, in my philosophy, to gain higher states of consciousness, you must purify the vessel. You must first understand that energy, vibration, frequency,
exactly
coherence
right.
flows through the physical flesh, which we also are a part of, right? So I love that you've gone from the physical to the non-physical, or a combination of the both. So tell us, what does consciousness mean to you, Jay?
So consciousness to me means, a recognition, I like to call it a cosmic awareness of that, allowing humanity, again, it's called the collective consciousness field, to realize that we all have to get along and that we all have to get to a place, again, what I like to call resonance, where we don't have these petty differences based on religion or economics or skin color or, philosophies or any of this stuff, political parties. I mean, all of this divide and conquer duality is what suppresses the vibrational field of consciousness. I always refer to Dr. Hawkins, calibrated scale of consciousness. Yeah. And, where we are now today and what you and me and people like us are pushing is that, like, we have to get to unity consciousness, right? And unity consciousness is where everybody realizes that we're all in this together. And that we're not going to stop the matrix or end the matrix or whatever you want to call it, the low vibration third dimensional field, until all of us get to a level of awareness where it's like there's no difference. All of us are literally the same, and we have to unite from that frequency.
Oh, I love that. I love Dr. Hawkins' work, and I quote him so often with the opportunity to actually quantify the certain vibrational scale of those different emotions. And we do very, very similar work as well. I'm excited about this. And for those of you watching and listening, we are going to go quite generic but very powerful in this conversation. And then Jay and I are going to hop out. We're going to go into Dr. ETV, which is a paid subscription, non-censored version, so we can really hear the magic that Jay has to share. Because we had a conversation before we jumped onto this call, and I'm just like, boom. Okay, I asked for his number because I'm personally interested in learning more. So this is really, really, really exciting. Okay, so I want to ask you this: what are some of the main factors that you believe has affected human consciousness more than any other stuff? What are some of the factors that we're dealing with at the moment that we need to be aware of?
Yeah, well, definitely, I want to speak in code. So I mean, like, I'm a big researcher / student of Rockefeller medicine and what that just call it the allopathic medical model, and how it has been contaminated in the last 100 plus years, from the V's down to big pharma and all of the physical biological agents that they create that get people hooked on them, from for the brain, the SSRIs, from the pain medications. I mean, essentially all of these things keep people in a vibratory field of suffering. Okay. I mean, it just bottom line, and then you also combine that with the war on our biological systems from the environment. I mean, I think this, Espen, everywhere in the world now, in first world, modernized, urban cities, we're under siege. Endocrine disrupting chemicals, plastics, contaminated water, contaminated, electromagnetic radiation from UV and blue lights and cars. People don't understand, like your phone, they put these cases around here. This is very high carbon, military grade plastic. This stuff goes through the cuticle when you pick it up and creates, all sorts of like plastic byproducts that go through your skin and then into your biological system. So, I mean, we are under what I call a full spectrum assault almost 24 hours a day. Not to mention when you lay in your bed at night, your house is being pelted by 5G and Wi-Fi router signals and all of this telephony. So, I mean, like our biological systems were not meant to be this attacked. So, I mean, like all of these things contribute to suppressing our energy field, which, we would call consciousness or our vibratory field, but that's essentially the game that's being played. I always go to the book, The Electric Rainbow, and I forget the author's name right now, but I mean, he's measured the electromagnetic frequency from 1870 with the invention of radio waves all the way up until now. Arthur Furstenberg, that's his name. And he can show like every 20, 30 years, every 2 to 3 decades, there's a rise in the frequency, and it's toxic to biological life. It's not just humans. It's the ecosystem. It's the animals. I mean, basically everything that we are producing as humans now technologically is damaging the Earth's ecosystem. It's that simple. And that's not conspiracy theory. That's provably, scientifically measured.
Yeah, I see so many valuable points in what you're sharing here. And I also really wanted to speak to those of you out there thinking, hey, what do I do? Because some people go, okay, I know this to be a fact. I sense it. I know it. What do I do? And others might be, oh, that sounds a little bit, conspiracy kind of whatever. It's interesting because for me as a primary healthcare physician, I was speaking to some of these points a long time ago.
Yep.
And now what I spoke to then seems to be literally occurring as we speak. So, removing our opinion out of it, if you want to look at the science of it, yes, this is indeed in many ways a very toxic environment for many people. So the question that people might have is, okay, shit, what do we do? Well, to give you some context, what I would do, and Jay's spoken to this, is really, you may not be able to avoid the 5G tower down the road. You may not be able to avoid certain things. Okay. But there's a lot that you can do. If nutrition, go lean, green, clean, keep it organic, keep it clean water, take care of yourself, turn the Wi-Fi off at night, like just use common sense, stay off the alcohol. I think is devil's poison. It's one of the worst things out there to reduce your frequency, right? If you just follow these basics, guys, you are already doing 80%. So just really don't make it complex. Try and stick to the basics, and remember, the first step to enlightenment or healing or empowerment is always going to be purifying the way you live your life and interact with this planet. Dude, I love that. And I know we're going to go deep into in the uncensored version as to what we're talking about here as well. So just before we jump into the uncensored version, tell us, what tips would you give to those people out there to raise their consciousness and create more alignment and coherence and love and health and healing in their life?
Yeah, I mean, first off, everything you just said was great. I mean, it's all amazing advice to do the same thing. I mean, first you have to get the basics down and not worry about like all the things I was talking about, which causes, the issues. But yeah, I mean, if you do most of those things, you're going to be in a better place than most people. I mean, alcohol and sugar are the great toxins. They are the two cell toxins. I mean, it doesn't matter whether you abuse one or the other. It lowers your frequency. It increases inflammation. I mean, obviously I'm speaking to the choir, but those two things, if you just stop those two things and obviously exercise, do a combination of resistance training and cardiovascular training, I mean, you are going to be ahead of the curve of like 90% of people. But, to your question, I always tell people, because people ask me this all the time, and I'm literally in the process of making a course on this, but like, Jay, I don't understand. You talk about raising your vibration. Raise your vibration. How do you raise your vibration? I say, you raise your vibration by every single day, whatever it is you do, right? Whether you're creating this or, doing that, it doesn't matter whether you're a CEO or a high school janitor, you do it to your highest and best capacity in service to everyone. Okay. That's what you do every single day. You show up and you show out, and you're doing it not for the money, not because your kids got to pay the bills. You're doing it because you're in service to the creation frequency, which is everybody. I mean, that's literally how you raise your vibration. And again, we're human. We have an ego. We have that reptilian consciousness. So we're going to be distracted and pulled out of that frequency. But as long as you can remember to come back to that frequency, I like to tell people, like, there's two things. You have two choices that you can make it every day, right? Because all you have control over is your reaction and your response to what happens around you. That's it. You don't have control of anything else. Even though you think you do, you don't. So you can choose to respond out of love, okay, or react out of fear. And 80% of people react out of fear because it's just the easy thing to do. But if you always, make the conscious choice of responding out of love, you have to be measured. You have to come from a neutral observational perspective and really sit there and calibrate, what do you really want to say? And it's not easy. It's really not easy. I always use this, example. You have an amazing meditation in the morning and you're in a Zen state. You get in your car, you go to your place of work or whatever it is you do. And as you're driving down the freeway, an absolute maniac cuts you off and potentially, or attempts to kill you, and you have to jerk the steering wheel. You still have a choice. Okay. You can literally do the high value, coherent, resonant thing and say, wow, you must be having a really bad day. I send you love and light. Or you can do, again, what 80% of people do and react, and which I've done many times in my life, and grab the steering wheel, and say, and, and like want to like, chase them down and, get into a road rage controversy or whatever. But I mean, we still always have a choice. And, I'll say this, and I know you guys know this, and probably most of your audience knows this too, but if you choose to respond out of love, energetically, you are literally transmuting a dissonant, incoherent energy wave with a resonant, coherent energy wave. And so that person, if you do that, will literally, who might be really having a bad day, right? They, somebody may have died in their life. They just lost somebody to the V or whatever. And they're just angry and like toxic. And if you wave at them and send them love, they will literally like look at you like, what just happened? Because you just transmuted that negative energy or that toxic feeling that they had. And so it's like, if we learn to do that, that our energy, just through our actions is that powerful, we can literally transmute all of the dissonant, incoherent energy frequency of the planet.
Perfect. I love the question. We teach this to our students all the time. The question is, how would love respond?
Right. Exactly.
How would love respond? What a beautiful way to do it. And also, this is a little bit complex, but in essence, quite simple. Everything around us is a projection of our level of consciousness. So when you call something that into your reality, it's easy to point a finger when three fingers are pointing back and say, you are an asshole because you did this to me. But in the essence, the soul has a series of experiences that you've called in that experience, perhaps to see that person as an aspect of you that you haven't loved fully enough just yet. So then when you project that love and you say, thank you, I love you, I send you blessings, as you said, that person will be on their way, and you will also heal an aspect of yourself, not just them, but both of you at the same time. Dude, I love that. I have a last question for you before we jump into the uncensored version, bro. I want you to just consider this. You're on what's called the world stage. Okay. There are hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people, and they're all showing up. They're all present. They're all silent. They're all patiently waiting for you to share your message to the world. Take a breath. Whenever you're ready, feel free to tell us. Jay Campbell, what is your message to the world right now?
The only thing that matters is that every single one of us in this room right now focus energetically on living and being our very best self at all times.
Boom. Let that sink in, people. Let that sink in. Be the best that you can be. That's why you're here. That's why you're alive. That's why you're listening to this interview. I want to say thank you, Jay. A couple of last words. Where can people go? Because I know a lot of our audience will be resonating with this content. How do they find out more about you? Tell us about your books, your websites, where you want people to go to dive into this amazing work of yours.
Yeah. And again, I'm humbly grateful and honored and privileged to be with you guys here today. So you can all go to jcampbell.com/free books, and you can get the two of my number one selling books of all time. One, the Testosterone Optimization Therapy Bible, which is over 600 pages and over 1,000 scientific resources or research citations on how to use therapeutic testosterone for lifelong health and happiness. And that's for men and women. And then the second book is the Metabolic Blowtorch Diet, which is, like, according to Amazon, I think the third highest selling book of all time on intermittent fasting. It's actually maximizing intermittent fasting. So very, very interesting book. Anyone can use it regardless of fitness levels. And then the third one is How to Raise Your Consciousness, which is actually like a long presentation that Michael Jaco and I did 2 years ago that's been transcribed and made into an ebook. But there's a lot of really high level, Hawkins-esque consciousness aspects. So again, they're all free. Just go there and just download them. And if you want to connect with me on social media, it's jcampbell333. I'm pretty much everywhere.
Awesome. Love the numerology at the end there, as it is.
That's right.
Okay, special thanks,
teachers.
bro. Yeah, special thanks. Love and blessings to you and your beautiful family on your journeys and on your path. And thank you for teaching this, for sharing this, and for being the man that you are, and for sharing the teachings that you're sharing in these very, very incredible times. Thank you so much. If you guys want to hear more in the uncensored version, go to Dr. ETV. That's drespen.com/DRETV. Opt in there and check out the uncensored interview. Love and blessings, everybody. Thanks so much.